Great, it is 7 o'clock. I'd like to call the board meeting of the Richmond Township Board of Trustees to order, August 11, 2021. Pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
roll call.
Jordan Coleman.
Here.
Cheryl Zalka. Here. Krista Ross.
Here.
Kathy LaFontaine. Here. Cindy Green. Here. All time. We've heard the answer.
Thank you very much. Next item we have on the agenda tonight is the presentation of agenda. There are a couple items I would like to add. First, under 13H, just a discussion of office staff salaries. And then under 13I, just a quick discussion on jury duty. So anything anybody else would like to change to the agenda?
Jay. You want to do Jay?
Under consent.
Okay.
We want to leave Twitch Palomar
Okay.
for greenhouse.
Okay.
I don't know if that would be under new or unfinished business.
We can plug that in under 13J.
Okay.
Anything else?
One other thing, and I'm not sure if we're going to, in addition to the office staff salaries, but we have to reinstate the $1,000 addition to the deputies' salaries.
Okay.
It should have went on, and we didn't figure it,
Right.
so
Can we plug that in under there?
I think you can put it in the office staff salaries.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just keep it under that line item. We'll share it at that point. Any other changes to the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda will stand as presented. Next item we have is public comment on agenda items.
This side of the podium. Bob Zalka, Township resident, former board member. I think I'd like to take this time to commend the board on putting on the agenda the memorial wall discussion. I had thought maybe the board had forgotten about this, and I'm glad to see that we're discussing and trying to complete that project, which was dear to my heart when I was on the board. Secondly, as an attorney, I know that words are very important and you must choose them carefully. Having said that, I know that there's been long-standing board policy that two signatories are on the general account and also on the tax account. Basically, the checks and balances. Looking at the financial bills to pay, I see that there were two bills that were indicated as being disputed. And I guess I, in my 12 years as treasurer, never had that designation made by the clerk about a questioning bill. I think the question bills are always to be determined by the board if there's a question as to whether the payment should be made. And in this case, it looks like the word disputed was made by the clerk on her financial report, when in fact, I think the record should reflect his question, and the board is going to have to make a decision on those two items. I think one was the AEW building, and the other one was the unemployment. Third, I see that you've added to the township agenda tonight the discussion about increase of salary for office employees. This board has had a long-standing practice of having budget meetings before they enter into the budget and determining the various departments and also the decisions made as to salaries for those departments. I believe the board did that in this budget year and determined something about the office staff and their salaries. To now have a discussion to possibly increase office staff salaries a month and a half into the new budget, in my mind, is critically unfair to the whole budget process. And I think that if the board's going to do that tonight, you need to spell out why you're making a change in office staff salaries this early in the budget year, and the reasons why. It was my understanding the budget was going to, the personnel committee was going to review the salaries for the office staff, the defense office staff, and maybe they a review 6 months later to determine if salaries will be increased. Here we're 1.5 months into the budget, and there's some further discussion about salaries. So I guess I question the merits of increasing office staff salaries at this time. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment on agenda items? Hearing none, the next item we have on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the June 9, 2021 regular board meeting. Everybody had opportunity to review those minutes. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support?
Or,
All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Next item we have on the agenda tonight is the consent agenda. We have the building department report for June and July, EMS report, office manager report from June and July, planning commission report for July and August, and the NEMC minutes. Would anybody like to remove anything from the consent agenda tonight? Remove?
Put the question of building report down to where Drew and Charlie's review plan is.
Okay, so we're going to pull the building department report and put that under unfinished business?
Yes. And then the office manager's report, can we go there with the salary discussion?
Okay, so we're going to pull the building department report and in place of 12B,
Or combined into.
combined with 12B, and then we're going to pull the office manager's report and combine that in with 13H. Any other changes to the consent agenda? Hearing none, can I get a motion to accept the consent agenda as amended?
I'll make that motion.
Support? Support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. All right, next item we have is the financial report. You have a list of bills in front of you tonight from Kathy. Anybody have any questions about the bills?
Well, since I disputed 2 of them,
You accurately did dispute them.
I questioned them. I didn't dispute them, I questioned them why we were doing what we were doing.
Question AEWs, you refused or you did not sign it. There's a sticky
You
note.
told me, I told you you could have sent it out.
The AEW, you
Yeah.
didn't sign it.
I didn't sign it, I just put a note on it, I didn't sign it, I was gonna talk to you about it. That's all I wanted to do before I signed it.
You didn't sign it.
I know, but the note was, I wanted to talk to you, that's why I didn't sign it. But I didn't sign it, and you asked me why, I told you why. And I said I'd signed it, but I'm still disputing the charges on there.
I don't recall you saying you'd sign that one.
Can we just discuss the issue with the bill? And we can kind of work that out.
Well, I think that they should have never charged us a senior engineering rate of $150 for 3.5 hours when they talked to an IT guy. And then they charge us only 1 hour and a graduate engineer at $111. I mean, the bill should have been just about $500 is what it should have been, opposed to the $636 that it is.
Well, I understand that's a little high, and I know at the time, we had a discussion of changing engineering firms. We knew AEW's prices were less than favorable and going up. That's why we got away from them. Now, I know that we knew there was a cost to that.
Well, there should be a cost for it, but I think that they should have used the lower, just like we have to for a FOIA. We have to use the lowest employees rate, not the highest employees rate. It's just my opinion. I think it's ridiculous to have to pay that much money.
So what do you want us to do, to dispute it to them?
You know, I think you could if you wanted to.
That's all we can do.
Yeah, but
If
unless you want to pay it.
you have to question. So we're talking how much money?
About 600.
$636 total.
Yeah, how much?
Difference?
How much do you think it should be?
I think it should have always been about $500.
You're talking what?
$36.
$136. My personal opinion is that I think we pay the bill and we wash our hands of it.
I'm with you, Mark.
Because that's part of the reason why we left them.
For sure.
For that same reason you're saying, you know, is that they're too high. And a lot of times we couldn't justify what they were charging. So I think it just underlines that we did the right thing. You know, so to me, any services are rendered, we hold them. We owe them for the services done. So.
Well, I understand the services,
Yeah.
this is just on the transfer of stuff that we.
Can we go back and really argue this one now?
Or, you know, I know that the we're talking thousands, maybe, might be different.
Yeah.
What's our official direction? Would you like me to take on this? Want to approve the pay bills or something different?
I think we pay it, just walk away.
We didn't pay it. I just thought.
All the rest of the board feel?
I agree. Yep.
Got you?
I'm good with it, but can I make one comment? Because I'd like to redeem myself a little bit here, just to find out from you, what is the correct language you want me to use when you disagree with the bill? I thought disputed was a perfect word.
Question,
So you want me to say Cheryl questions this bill?
yes.
Okay.
I'm not disputing, I mean, it's not like I don't want to pay it totally. I just think that the amount of it is not what it should be.
I will put question and for the future.
That's perfectly good, the question. That's part of why
I mean,
we're all
that's,
here.
yeah, that's why we
I
have.
mean, I have to
members.
explain to the other board members why that
Fine.
bill didn't go up. That's what I wrote. That's what came to my head.
And as far as the unemployment, I talked to John Gideon today, and he has faxed over all the information that you gave him, the authorization to power of attorney for them to talk to him. And he said that as soon as they give him the okay, that they accept everything that we submitted to them, then we can talk. So he said probably another week or so.
Did he add on, don't get your hopes up?
No, he said he just wants to make sure that we're not doing something that we shouldn't be doing.
So that bill is still outstanding? It's not-
No, that one got paid
Okay.
just because we didn't want to get interest on it. But
Okay.
the question is why are we paying, we as a township do not pay unemployment tax for our employees, but we're paying it for Drew. Because he lays himself off in the winter.
Hmm.
So that's my question.
We'll meet on our auditor and see what he comes back
Yeah.
with. And just kind of look at this recommendation, it's the best course of action we could take. The worst.
So that's why that looks questioned.
Okay.
Like the bill did, the check did go up.
I have just a question on the wording here. You have the library tax and the drain tax. You've got that stated as being delinquent, or what is that?
Well, what happens, yeah, you either want me to explain that. The drain is something that the county pays us the delinquent, so we have to give it back to them. So it goes into the general
So
fund.
it is considered a delinquent?
Yes,
Oh,
and so it's the same thing with the library,
Mhm.
because it goes into our general fund, and then we show it back up.
Anything else, Governor?
No, that's it.
Cheryl, we good?
Okay.
Cindy?
All set.
Got it?
Yep.
Okay. We're hearing none. Can I get a motion to approve and pay bills as presented?
So moved.
Support? Support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next item we have is the treasurer's report.
Another one thing that I have just recently discovered, they are now going to charge us for the tax account service fee every month. And as long as Bob and I have done this job, we never, they charged it and then they reimbursed us back. And I talked to the new manager over there, and she's says that she can't waive it, but I'm gonna go in and actually talk to her and see if we can arrange that to be taken care of.
Okay.
And Kathy put on there, one of the bills to be paid is to increase the amount in the drain account, the one for the cleaning for the county.
Right.
To keep it above its $2,500 minimum. Well, since they subtracted the fee for it getting below the 2,500, so we may have to put in like a $30 check just to get it back to its level, then it won't get charged again, hopefully.
Okay.
We're gonna go probably around and around with that one.
Okay. Keep us posted. Hopefully we can work something out with them.
I'm gonna try.
So on the tax account, what do they charge?
It depends on how many deposits are made and, it can vary from $8 to $15 a month, depending on it. That's outside of what they're gonna charge me for that new check machine that I just got. That I have to actually go in now to the bank.
Who's doing this, PNC?
No, First State.
First day. So are you, let's say they won't change it, they stick to their guns. Are you suggesting we change banks?
Not right away. I may have to investigate that, but I think we can probably look something up. Because if they're going to charge me the $50 a month for the machine to do the deposits, then I think that fee should be waived because it's based on how many deposits I make. And that's what the fee is for, the $50. So that may wash. That's why we go in and talk to them.
You should also keep an open mind about taking the drain account and putting it with the rest of the PNC accounts, because there's no charge there as long as we use the deposit machine here. There's no service charges on those accounts. There is on the main one. That's it.
What did they charge you on the main account?
36. It varies from 36 to 70, depending on how much we get coming in and going out. But no, we're having how many accounts there? What do we have, 6, 7? And the drain account would be one more.
You have something on that, Bob?
I just want to add, in my deputy treasurer hat here, two things. We have in the tax account, we have kept in there some administration fee money that we've never dispersed, okay, from past years. So that money is available in case we can't get them to change the service charge. The residents, the money coming in for taxes is going to be used to pay that administration, which I explained to you. It would come out of that administration, pay that service fee, it would come out of administration fee that we've got sitting in there. Secondly, Kathy brings up probably a good point. If we can advise them that, we got the other account there, maybe they'll waive that drain account service charge.
Yeah, because we do have 3 accounts technically there now.
And the third thing I just want to bring to the board's attention that nobody's noticed so far, and it's what, 6 months into the new term? My name still appears on the treasurer's report that I was all the treasurer. I noticed that last night, so that would change.
Talk to the treasurer.
That's it.
Okay, any other questions for Cheryl regarding the treasurer's report? Everybody good? Moving on, the treasurer's report will stand as presented. Next item we have on the agenda tonight is the Farmland Preservation. Vern?
Yes, so what we've been doing, what our next step is, there's $192,000 right there, money set. It is ours once we get the paperwork done. We're waiting for the state. We got them all the information they needed. That was who's going to be on it. It's going to be Chris, who the supervisor was, our address. They put that all into the report. They sent it to their legal department. They told us they were going to have this done by the 1st of August. Well, it's like everything now. They're sitting there waiting for it too. And we also had to set up a Sigma account, which is an automatic deposit transfer system that the state uses. That's been driving Kathy crazy for the last month, trying to set that up. I don't know, we had it set up, I guess, a long time ago, and it ran out or something. But they understand, and that's no problem. Once this is done from the state, what the director of the Farmland Preservation program will do, they'll send that grant agreement to Chris. Chris needs to sign it. They'll send it back to the state, and the state will sign it. Once that is completed, then we have 2 years in which to complete the purchase of the property. And in that meantime, that's when we'll have to do like a title search. We'll have to do they call it a baseline report, which is somebody here, probably Lori, will have to go out, like she's been doing with Goiges and Montgomery's property. Taking pictures, proving that it is what it is, and setting that up, what we're going to send in every year. And like I said, then we have 2 years in which to complete that. And they claim that we might even have, if we need to extend that, we will. We can do that. They're pretty lenient once we get it signed.
Okay.
So, and I suppose once you get the paper, you might want our legal people to look at it too. I don't know if you just want to sign this. You know, that's up to you, but I think it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to do that. But that's where we're at this time. It's like everything nowadays, you set, hurry up and wait. You know, so. And Kathy has done progress with the Sigma. It's just now getting into the program.
She'll get there.
So that's where it is right now. So we are moving forward, slow but sure.
Okay. Good. Forward is good.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have any questions for Vern otherwise? Okay. Thank you, Vern. Moving on to our next item, the building report. Jeff?
Yes, good evening. I'm going to turn on the microphone.
Look at that.
Clearly not working with the power being down. So, a couple of items. One is we are at generator power tonight, so if the room gets a little balmy. This generator was never sized for the building to operate the 3 air conditioning compressors in it. So until the power goes back on, we have no air conditioning. I'm going to be looking into, these things just came up tonight, I'm going to be looking into the IT room. It appears that at least some of the plugs in there may not operate off generator power. Again, probably something we hadn't noticed in the past because it doesn't happen that often where the generator has to run. And so we'll look and see if we can ensure that all the plugs actually are operating off the generator. I think that may be part of the reason your sound system is not in operation this evening. So I've already sent an email this evening to begin to work on that process. I think all else we have for the board tonight, the one large zero turn is in for a repair need. It just went in this morning, so I don't know. I don't have any kind of cost or price yet on what that will be, but I'll get that the clerk as soon as that comes in. We are kind of like with everything else service related right now. We're really struggling to find we put in the budget painting the office areas, and we're struggling to get a painter here. We finally had somebody willing to come out and give us a bid, but that will be probably until September. All these contracts are really backed up, so I don't want anything we weren't working on it. Just been struggling to get someone here to get us some pricing. The last item I think I have under building report, because we have the drive rehabilitation down later on the agenda, is the question that came up that we again discussed at the last meeting with regards to the mulch out in the driveway islands, or, parking lot, I'm sorry, parking lot islands, out here. As you'll recall, we had received a bid from Quick Products, and that bid was, let me find my bids here, was basically would turn out to be $1,215 for 40 yards. They initially only bid 38, but we're not professional landscapers, so I bumped that up to 40 using their price per yard for points. It came $1,215 with delivery. There was some concern from some of your residents, and I guess their net price was actually at $28.50 per yard. There was some concern from some of your residents because the Hoyt Building Products had a similar name to a business that you're having an issue with here in the community, or the residents are having an issue with the community, I should say. And first, let me assure the board that the two organizations are not connected. But to be safe, we did obtain a second bid from Boulder City for mulch as well, and that bid was $35 per yard. And so the total amount for that bid for 40 yards of delivery was $1,455. So Hoyt Building Products still remains the lower bidder. We just did some due diligence to make sure that everyone was satisfied in that regard. The question that comes now that we're in August is this: is this something? I mean, the mulch clearly doesn't look great out there. I can't make it look any better. It's faded. It's thin. You probably need to replace it. We replaced last year. We put it off. Now we need to really be replaced this year. Having said all that, it's August. And so I guess I would leave it to the board's discretion as to whether or not they want to try to remulch this year and put in new colorful mulch to get snowed on at some point, or whether they would like to put this off until next spring. We have a township cleanup day scheduled for late part of September, which I know Supervisor DeVos had indicated that the Boy Scouts would be available to help us spread the mulch that day. Certainly, I don't have any problem doing this project this year. But I also would, if the board decided, hey, let's just put it on for spring, just because it will get some wear and tear throughout the winter months. Would you prefer to do that since we got this late this season? And yeah, I'll leave that completely up to you.
How's the board feel about fall, spring?
I think we should leave it go. It's my opinion.
Yeah, I think if we do anything, if you want to take out the old stuff and maybe put it around the senior center area. And just leave it.
I mean, you're talking about a tremendous amount of work. And I will tell you that, right now, the EMS could give this a few hours on whatever Saturday you decide to do, but given our current run volume, we just can't, I would, back in the day, I'd say people work on it all week and get it done for you. Those days have long left Richmond Township as far as the volume of work that our guys are doing, just answering down the web calls. And so, honestly, we would need to do that. That would take bringing up our landscape or somebody got a lot of time on their hands to do all.
Normally cleanup day work, but we also do cleanup day in the spring too. So this year's a little different. So.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're good with, we're gonna have the cleanup day down at Randy's. I think we put our efforts there.
Right.
Don't worry about it this spring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. End up getting washed as well.
Right. Anything else for Jeff? Jeff, anything else for us?
Nope, that was it.
Okay, perfect. Hearing none, the next item we have tonight is the assessor's report. I just wanted to highlight on that very first page that she provided, that she passed through the audit, one of the 100% rating, and also got some additional gold stars for the exemplary work that you did. And just if you happen to see her in the office, tell her thank you for doing such a great job. Does the board have anything that they would like me to take back to her otherwise?
Very easy.
Yes. Doing a good job. Hearing nothing else, we'll move on to unfinished business. Medical marijuana update, there's some articles in there for you to enter through at your own leisure. Any additions or questions about that for anyone? Okay. Hearing none, we move the building department report down to 12B. Carol, would you like to take up with that one?
Yeah, in Chris's report, it says that Charlie reviewed 20 new building permits. And I was wondering, has Drew helped him with that? Isn't he supposed to be learning how to review those so that he can take over? That was my question.
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge, he hasn't been reviewing. I see Drew also did 3 months, 91 inspections too. So I mean, it's a crazy time of year. But, yeah, as far as I know, he has not been reviewing, at least in this quarter.
Because there was a previous report saying that they were meeting kind of not together because of the pandemic, but they were comparing notes and whatnot, and I see no reference to him doing anything on the new building permits at all.
Right. Well, to the best of my knowledge, they have not been. I also haven't gotten any complaints either, one way or the other. I just talked to people in the community. The whole process from applying, reviewing, inspecting, getting your bonds back, it's all been very smooth and people seem happy. But I haven't heard anything otherwise. Be any direction to talk to them or deal?
Does Drew have interest in learning how to review those plans?
That can be the truth, I know.
I thought that's what he was supposed to be doing all this time.
Right. I mean, if not, is there a course of action you'd like me to pursue beyond that?
To me, with the volume of work that is there right now, I think we're fortunate that we got 2 people doing it. You know, I mean, when we hired you, we knew that he had a full-time job elsewhere. Not, so with the volume that's there now, I mean, that's at least 1 inspection a day.
Right.
Plus his normal job. And that's gonna be, because he's probably not doing inspections on the weekend. So he's probably doing 2 during the week plus his normal job. Plus if you're doing the reviews. I mean, yeah, I think we can ask him, say, hey, how are you doing with, you and Charlie doing with looking at the reviews together or something like that. But I don't think we should push the issue, because I think we need them both right now. That's my feeling.
Yeah, I'm not overly crazy about having 2 people working in one position, but that was the board's decision at the time. But I think if we lost either one of them, the other one would have to step up or out, and then at that point, the replacement would have to do both. I don't want to keep this a 2-person position forever. You know what I mean? But things are going well.
I think you'll see it work itself out.
Yeah, we took in over $91,000 last year, and I think we budgeted 35. And I mean, and we've already taken in almost 9,000 this month, in July. That is a ton of money, that's a ton of work for them.
Right.
But, and this has been an issue for a while. I guess maybe, and first of all, I do agree with Vern that right now it's just crazy busy. I think asking Drew right now to do this is a lot. But I do recall that he did make, did tell us he was going to learn how to do this. And the world went crazy, but perhaps moving forward, we could get an actual, I thought we were supposed to get something in writing in our report, that they met on this day and they reviewed this building, maybe it was for a barn, maybe it was for a house. We had talked about if they didn't have one, which of course right now is no problem because they're so darn busy. But you know what I'm saying? If they didn't have one, maybe they could go back and look at an old one and pull it out. I mean, I think, I want to think that Drew wants to learn how to do this. I absolutely have no doubt that he is super capable of it. But I guess when it gets a little bit slower, it might, I would appreciate myself if you would sit down and talk to him and just say, are you truly interested in doing this? What are your thoughts on it? And if so, maybe Chris Rickle comes up with some kind of form that they fill out that shows maybe they did 2 reviews a month. You don't want to make it anything too crazy, but you do want to know that he's learning how to do it.
Right.
I don't know.
Like Chris believes it, that's pretty good. 'Cause
Yeah.
That doesn't get away from anything.
Yeah.
Very
What do you
good.
think about that?
Oh, I think it's a good idea, and that's
No,
personnel.
yeah, well, at least ask them.
Meet with me, and you and I meet with her.
I'm just worried that something should happen to Charlie. Who's gonna do the reviews if he doesn't feel comfortable or he doesn't?
No, and I understand that, and I do understand it's been weird since we talked about this, and, you know, with the COVID, and Charlie was sick, and now that's a lot of money in 1 year to take in building department revenues.
For us.
They have been super busy, but I would agree, I mean, I don't know how much longer Charlie literally is gonna wanna do this. I don't know, he never really indicated to me how much longer he wanted to do it. And maybe he's kind of like it or something, but I do recall one thing that we talked about more than one time was seeing when and how Drew would get some training on doing the reviews.
Maybe we could have Charlie come in too, and we could just meet 4 of us and
Yeah.
just talk from side to side.
Not a stupid amount of them, but
No.
he's gonna learn, we have to at least know that it's headed in that direction.
Right. Or if it's not, then
Right.
it's not.
But I mean, I know Drew can do it.
Right.
I mean,
Oh, he's
he's
capable.
very good at what he does.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yep.
Okay. So we'll set that up and we'll get with you, Vern, and we'll
Mhm.
come up with something. Okay, any more on that item, Cheryl? Okay. Any questions from anybody else before we move on? Okay, moving on, new business. We have in our packet the approval of the Richmond Township Principles of Governance. We've seen this a couple times before, we're just getting a couple copies and getting things changed and up to date. I would recommend approval, the update of this principle of governance. So they get a motion. Support? Support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next item we have is the approval of a contract with Casson Planning Services. It's that time to review the contract. We had talked to Steve about, it's been a 1-year contract. We talked to him to see if he'd be interested in a 2 to 3 year contract at the same cost. If he is interested, but I wanted to bring that to the board. He's been fantastic. I think he does a great job. I think by locking him in a little bit longer than a year, especially at the same cost.
We agree.
Be a good idea.
And I'm not saying that he should increase his cost, but we do, the auditor with his graduated 3-year cost in play. It is nice to have it done in 3 years. It seems like that year shows up and then lickety split. Because I mean, didn't John go up like 500 each year?
Yep.
So even, I was looking more for the longevity, not necessarily knowing what's going on.
Okay.
You do that,
Yeah.
move that, the contracts, and like increase it, whatever.
They see that, I mean, because they're more leery, they'll lock it in for 3 years. I would think, you know,
Right.
as the economy changes.
In the motion, do we have to put an increase in that?
If we're going to approve the contract, we would have to make a motion to approve the contract with the following amendment. So I would say, if you're going to leave, say, the rate this year at 600, or if you're going to propose 650. Or, I don't know what you had in mind. I mean, he's in here, I agree,
Yeah.
he's probably the best planner we've ever had.
You could also have some that are the ones that are.
But you know what I mean, he's always available.
Oh, have something for the following year,
Yeah.
and then show the increases on there.
Yeah.
Okay. So we approved 1 year as it stands, like Kathy said, that we have to prepare something for,
That's
The
right.
next
That's right.
answer, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
let them propose it, and then we can approve it.
Right. Okay.
I like that.
Perfect, thank you for that suggestion. So can I get a motion to approve the one-year contract with Castle Planning Services?
I'll make the motion.
Support? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Next item we have tonight is the plot plan discussion. I know some of you were talking with some men before the meeting about it. So Rifleman, maybe you can explain what this is about, please?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Good evening, everyone. This started back in May. Somebody just called me asking about the township procedure for a plot plan. A plot plan is an equivalent to a small site plan for a single residential home. So this engineer was asking what the requirements are, and I couldn't find any. I recommending that the township adopts a similar procedure that we have in surrounding communities, which we call a plot plan requirement, that basically have the builder or the engineer who's assisting the resident to put the house together, put a grading plan that shows, or a small site plan that shows where the house is, where the drainage is directed to, the runoff going from his property, and contain everything within his site, so he's not sending or shedding water into the neighbors. I mean, that's number one purpose here. And then when I did a little digging, I saw you do have a residential plan review requirement and a checklist. It's even posted on your website. Item 9 on your checklist requires the applicant to submit any site plan. So this the requirements are already in place, but we don't have the details. So in your packet, there is a few sheets that we put together. There is a preliminary and location of house certificate that is required by the applicant's engineer or surveyor to submit after they're done with the construction. There's some sketches for grade standards that helps the applicant how to design the residential lot. And then also there's a checklist that we use to review these plans that we will be supplying to the applicant as a guideline. If they go through this, it's pretty straightforward, very simple to do, but it's very crucial that we catch that grading problem in advance before it gets too complicated, and now the neighbor is complaining about this new house that they never had a flood before, and the township gets involved, because your building department approves these construction plans and they give you the construction permit. The township is on the hook for this approval. So this is just a check, a fail-safe check that we do for every municipal client that we have, and all the surrounding communities have this in place already. There's some standard notes to be included, and I can tell you, almost every engineer and surveyor are very familiar with this process, and they do this expecting this to happen at every municipality. So the normal procedure would be somebody bringing a plot plan to the building department. They will send us a PDF or a copy of that plot plan. We review it within a day or two and send it back to the building department and say, yes, we have no objections, or they need to change these things. They modify it, they bring it back. We give the blessing to the building department, they give them the construction permit. Once they're done, we hold them to that grade. So their surveyor needs to verify that at the end, that they did, in fact, build the house at elevation 605 and not 615, that are 10 feet higher than the mid. And they know that. They have to fix it. They have to be within 0.2 foot of tolerance. So once they see that and they certify it, that solves a lot of these problems. So what are we asking here for this board is to adopt this procedure as part of your building department procedure for construction.
Thank you for the explanation. Board, have any questions for Survey?
So you're saying that you'd have to have a surveyor figure out the grade?
Yes. They're already doing that because the contractor cannot go without a survey. They will give them the stakes for where the basement elevation and where the first floor elevation and of course the brick ledge. So they're already doing that. We just
I don't know
asking them
if,
to put it on paper.
doing that. I think
They should be.
There's a little grade mark on the tree, and go from there.
But like you said, we have a lot of problems with flooding
Yeah.
lately,
Yeah.
really bad.
So I think it's a good safe.
Well, I think we're getting to that. As we get bigger, we run into these issues, and I think you're right.
And so many more homes.
Also on this, I don't know if this is just a sample cement or if this is, you have this one picture of the plot plan and then you've got this, you know, the side setbacks and all this. One is 50 feet, one's, you're just showing that they need to show them. We don't, because our setbacks are not like that, are less than that. This one here, see where you're showing 50 feet here, 100 here. Are those recommended or are they just,
Those are from your
building?
building.
They're already in our,
Yeah.
oh, okay. I know the road, you got 90 feet, I know that was, I didn't realize the back one was 120.
Yeah, that's not my sketch, that's your
Oh,
building
okay.
department sketch.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, that's what I was questioning, because it says,
It could be an old one.
it says sample here, and I wasn't sure if I. Because I thought our setbacks on some of that property was only like 10 feet.
This is a sample, I mean, it says that,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
they have to check what zoning and
Mhm.
You just gave us a sample, just showing.
Yeah, he
those.
does, yeah.
Okay.
this is
But
that,
you're saying that's not what you gave us.
that sample, that's
That sample was in,
that's your building
that
department.
sample
in your
was in
building
our
department
book,
packet.
and all that's showing is that when you make a plot plan, they want those dimensions shown.
But we should put in as a sample, this is what they have to do for these work on.
Yeah.
Right? Our setbacks are.
To me, it should be all,
Instead of having a sample, we
it's a
should
sample, and
add.
it shows
Should
100
Show
100
ours.
feet, and it's
So
almost
they're
going
gonna
to
take
be.
that sample out of
Good.
there and replace it with ours,
Yeah.
is what you're saying,
Yeah.
right? I'm just
No,
trying to
that's
get it
not,
right.
that's not what he's saying.
That's what we're saying.
He's just saying he used this out of our book to show us that needs to be required.
I know, when I asked
And the
Lori,
plot-
that was ours, and she said, no, it was his. So I'm just trying to figure out.
I think it's ours, but-
If I may approach.
Oh,
Yes, you
sure.
may.
This is the sketch that Rick's
Yeah.
and that's published on the
Right there.
website.
And that is on our website.
Yeah, if it's wrong, it needs
And
to
like-
And it is wrong.
Yes.
It is wrong.
Yeah.
So that's what-
You have to
so
correct.
that's what Cheryl was saying, it should be correct.
Chris's point, yeah.
Okay.
It
but-
should
You would be over the building department.
That's why I got this question mark, it was over here in my two files.
So that's not mine.
Yep.
I'm making it clear.
So we'll know if we approve this.
This is
we
like, you're
approve
fighting
this.
about it, but I have been home taker.
Can I ask one question though? Are the fees also gonna have to be adjusted to cover this extra step for whoever is having to survey the extra step?
No, fees, we charge $122 per submittal. And it's already in the contract with the township. So you just have to,
Has that be onto
to the
the,
applicant.
and that's what I mean,
Yeah.
we gotta make sure that's on the application.
If
Because I
there-
don't think our fees are adjusted to
Correct.
that
Include that.
And if there's any admin fee, you have to add that up.
also.
Okay.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, got you back.
Okay. Perfect. So any other questions for Cement?
No, I think it's a good idea.
Okay, fantastic. Hearing none, can I get a motion to adopt this procedure for the plot plan review?
I'll do the
Okay, motion to get support.
Gladly support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, next item we have on the agenda is the Richmond Township Hall and Senior Center Drive Rehab discussion.
I can refer to the gentleman next to me as well, as we work through this, because I think it's probably kind of a joint project. As you recall, in this year's budget, the township set aside some funds to evaluate the needs of the issues with our driveways here on the township campus. As everybody's well aware, the driveway of school sections have a large kind of bump in it for years. And we've looked at it various times received back engineering cost estimates that were just more than what the township had available in its budget. And I had asked the township as well if we're looking at driveway work in the future, if we could look at doing something with regards to the senior center driveway area. We basically, for the most part, asked the seniors to enter and exit the building off school section, because the M19 driveway, given the traffic and flow of patterns and the fact that it was put in many years ago, decades ago, really is unsafe. Simply, there is no way to pull out of that driveway and reach highway speed in a reasonable period of time and not get hit coming from either the north or the south. The driveway should have been abandoned probably many years ago. In order to abandon that driveway, however, we'll need to extend a service drive off this parking lot into that front area in front of the senior center on the M19 side and over to the pole barn, so that we can access the plows and mowing equipment and what have you in our storage. So we had asked for prices to deal with both of those issues, and the prices I sent, and I think they were included in your packet tonight, that Tri-County Engineering, Mr. Sagan, put together for us. He offered two options for the reconstruction of the main driveway. Option one, he called a full reconstruction, and option two, a partial reconstruction. The difference in cost was about $30,000. As much as I'm not an engineer, I'm going to defer that to him to explain what he would view as the two different options. And then the cost for the senior center driveway improvements would be $41,043. Now we're not looking for a decision on this tonight. We did not budget funds at this point to take on either of these projects. We budgeted funds to do the engineering, get some estimates and ideas going forward. All that said, there may be, and this is a huge maybe, but there may be the opportunity, to look at some of these ARPA or other funds, the ARPA, the COVID Act funds that we've recently applied for, that might be able to be used for some portion of one of these. I would think maybe more likely the drive out to school section, in as much as we could probably tie that into use on EMS vehicles and maybe make a claim for a portion of that to be paid for. I don't know the answer to that yet. It's something that we'll work probably through Mr. Safe, maybe Mr. Gideon, and possibly the legal counsel to give us some opinion on this fund. Because while the funds, well, the news media and some of the federal elected officials keep using the words, these can be used broadly. Every time I read the document, I find that I look at it more narrow and narrower as far as what we spend these dollars on. I'm not seeing the words broadly in there anywhere as I read them. So I don't want to get your hopes up that there may be some, pot of money, pot of gold, if you will, to pay for these with in the rainbow. This may be something we just need to decide if we're going to look at doing what we did with the parking lot previously and other things that this building has needed over the years, and possibly look at other financing for these kind of projects, because we do have some things we need to start looking you know, with that, I'm going to let Sarvan just talk a minute about, if you would, about the difference between the $86,000 quote and $55,000.
Thank you, Jim. So we're proposing here just two simple options. One is fully remove the existing driveway, fully reconstruct it. As you know, it dips really sharp and then you have to come down and then up. So that's what you feel when you drive it, the approach. So the option one is completely remove the deceleration lane, that's the section on the public road, and then the driveway opening, which is the section with the two curves around it, and remove the entire thing, put a new base, build it right up so it's a nice, easy drive through. So that's option one, which is we estimated about 86. That includes construction and engineering. Option two is partial reconstruction. So what are we doing here? What we're trying to do here is just keep the diesel lane alone, what MDOT has, Road Commission has on there, and we only work on our side of the property. So in essence, we're going to try to lift our side, but by going further into our property and kind of ease that slope a little bit. We can't guarantee it's going to work because it depends how far that dip is already existing. But it has a almost 35% less cost in that option. Now we have to go through the survey and actually design it to know if this is going to work. But it's an option that exists that we could always consider if budget is not there. Now, with all that said, we still recommend a full reconstruction. That's the proper way of doing it. That guarantees that it will be designed and built correctly. Try to partially rehab it, may or may not work, and we're taking that risk.
I have a question. If the road commission decides, because this part of the school section has never been resurfaced as long as I've lived here, from just west of Little Plank to M19. Now, if they decide to fix it and tear it down and put new asphalt down, is that going to affect that entrance?
No, because typically with resurfacing, they just mill the top inch or inch and a half, and they put it back the same way it was before.
Any questions for Supervisor Underwood?
So both of these options are either one will be doing it right. Or are you saying the last one is not?
It sounds like a short check.
Yeah, taking a shot in the dark.
That's what I was questioning.
Option two is advantage.
Oh, okay.
We still have to go through the survey and the geometry and all that. And then after go through the engineering design, we'll find out if option two would not work.
Yeah.
But just looking at it from every angle, I personally don't think it's the proper way to do it. If the township would like to do this, funding is available or not, I would still recommend pushing this to next year. This year is terrible. I just give you an example. We have 2 street rehab in the village of Rehab, 40 contractors for your plans. We received only 1 bid. And we were forced to give it to that one contractor. My recommendation would be for the board to look at this, if there are funding available, maybe authorize this in the fall, towards the holidays. If everything's slow, we'll take a couple months, put the plans together, advertise and get solicited for bids. Come springtime, we're ready to go.
That sounds like a good plan.
We did, if I'm not mistaken, I think we did budget engineering costs
Yes.
for that. So I mean,
Yeah.
that money's available to get the design, and get all the engineering ready for it.
And of course, economies of scale, if you want to do the approach of the senior center, I would recommend doing it at the same time.
Right.
Mobilization costs, and everything, we're already here doing it, so.
Yeah.
I mean, collectively, if we did the full reconstruct plus the senior center, we're just under 120.
You don't have the company.
So, then I guess the question that I'm asking the board, and not decide tonight, is are we, since we did budget for the engineering, do we want to have, sort of move forward with, the full engineering of the project, and if so, we want in the fully engineered high cost at senior center, or just one? So I'm looking for as a key and I probably will support direction in that regard.
How's the board feel about that? Go ahead and
Well,
design.
obviously, if I understand what you're asking us to, the board to authorize Suman to go ahead and begin the engineering on whichever project we're going to go with. So we're going to have to make the decision this evening what we want them to go with. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah, that's
Okay,
exactly what I was
so-
thinking, and that gives us, I mean, we're way out in front of this, in as much as we're thinking we'll start next year, so I mean, it's not something somebody's gonna, run back to his office and start tomorrow, but at least it gives us direction to say, as he can fit it in his schedule, we can get it all done. We normally have our board budget meeting, about March, so I mean, it gives us from now until, March, for him to get that part done, and then we can really, have, I think a good discussion at that meeting about, how you might choose to finance this.
So me personally, I would go with option one, and I would include the changes at the senior center. I think that for a long time, we've talked about this. I know the senior center's been a problem, that driveway has been a problem. And one thing I can say for as long as I've been on the board, we have never cheaped out on anything. When we do something, that means we have to borrow money, and I think we've been very careful with our money. I also don't want to have an engineer something and spends $8,000 on engineering and then it doesn't work. So for me, I would approve engineering, for Tim to do engineering on the full reconstruction as well as the drive at the senior center. That's what I would prefer.
Kathy, how do you feel?
I feel the same way. However, if we get to that point and our funds are tighter than what we thought, would we have to pay re-engineering costs to subtract part of it, or is it just easy for you just to delete it? Okay, then I'm all for it.
Unless the bids come in double what would.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Cheryl, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I go for it, might as well do it, we're doing it right. Okay.
Bird? Oh, my God.
Here we go.
I don't think the bump out here is worth $86,000. Is that really that bad?
Oh, yeah.
It's
Do you-
bad.
It
Do you
is.
think it's that?
Has it
To
taken
try to
a
do
toll
it
on
in
the
Andrews.
EMS trucks, Jeff?
What's that?
Has it taken a toll on the EMS trucks?
It's hard to say. I mean, I'd hate to blame that bump for, all of our suspension issues. We have plenty of dirt roads in this township, I can blame that, as far as just
I've never-
wash,
I've never seen a
they can wash
problem.
more than spring, they can wash more than
Well,
fall.
see, I come in on an angle.
And I come in on the curb, I ride the
Yeah.
curb.
They go
Yeah.
slowly over it, but I think it's, I don't know, I feel like maybe a public building like this should, just, those kind of things just should be.
I'm all for the senior center,
A little better.
the senior
Yeah.
citizen
That's
thing.
all.
I just find that price a little bit extraordinary myself.
Well, we could go ahead and design it, because we're not making a decision tonight on which
Yeah.
option really
Yeah.
either. We're just more or less authorizing the designing to do it.
It's not just the immediate
Oh, I understand why that's happening, but it's just my opinion is that the bump is not that bad. I'm willing to live with it the way it is. $86,000.
Will it continually get worse?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And it will separate and be growing grass and everything else through it
Yeah,
eventually?
you already, if you look at the gutter line, it's already broken.
I tell you right now, I bet you can't get it done for $86,000.
Maybe next year though.
Yeah, maybe.
With the way things are going nowadays.
Timing, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right now, there's no way we can get it.
Oh, no.
But come spring, if we bid it like January, February time,
Mm-hmm. People.
contractors are still
Looking for
sitting at
work,
home, there's no construction, no paving,
Mhm.
and they will give us better price.
And we always could wait a little longer too.
You
If
could
it's
always-
Yeah.
so, I mean, if we get the engineering.
I think
plans,
we,
they're
I
gonna-
think we do the engineering.
Yeah.
That's the first step.
Yeah.
Approving today is basically the engineering.
And if there are grants available, I mean, and Jeff knows all about that, sometimes they would not give you the grant money if you don't have a
Yeah.
shovel ready.
Yeah,
A
we
lot
got
of
to
times,
something.
yeah.
So if we design it, you're not ready for it, it's already designed permitted, ready to go. Whenever you pull the trigger, it's ready.
So we have a motion to authorize Survey to proceed on the engineering plans of the driveway and senior center.
I would make a motion to authorize Tri-County Engineer to drop engineering plans for option one, full reconstruction of Township Colony driveway improvements and also for the senior center driveway improvements.
Second.
I'll support it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, thank you, Sir Matt.
Yeah, thank you.
Next item we have tonight is the approval of the park plan. In your packet, you'll see the design of the recreation plan of the park, and planning commission has definitely has went through and reviewed all this for her. It's been a
Yeah.
pretty extensive process for them.
It goes back to just what Sabette was saying. You have to have something like this if we ever want to get grants.
Right.
And it's, if we don't have this, you might not even apply.
Right.
Doesn't pay.
Right.
So that's why we went through this process and did what we're doing. So now, if we can get grants, because we know that's the only way we're doing this,
Right.
is through grants, and we can do it gradually, bits and pieces and everything, so. But you have to have some sort of a final goal of what you're working on.
Right.
So when you apply for a grant for that, and you said you have to do it gradually, you show, we approve the plan, and then you submit this plan, but then you write in the grant itself that you're only applying for, say, $400,000, and you're gonna match it, and then you list what you're going to do with that money?
That's my understanding of how it would work.
Okay,
I don't know.
you don't have to do it all, that's on the plan.
I don't think so.
His eyes got big.
If we approve this plan and we go for a grant down the road from whoever, right now, the DNR is the one that's giving out those grants. And I don't think we have to complete the whole thing. Can we go for just a portion of it?
This is,
That worries me, that was the only thing that worried me.
this is a recreation plan or the sign ordinance?
No, this is the park.
The park.
The park.
The park plan.
Park.
The park.
Yeah.
We've got, we had to have a recreational plan, but then on top of that, we had to have something. What are you getting the money for?
Right.
You can't just say, oh, we're gonna build a park, and now we're gonna do this, and willy-nilly, you gotta have a basic layout of what you're trying to do.
Yeah, you have to have, let's start with the basics. You have to have a right plan and a master plan for the park, which you already have a draft.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the grants, you can apply for the entirety, you can apply for a portion.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I want.
Yeah, that's what we're asking.
So let's say the township would like to build this park completely 100% in the next 5 years. Just, ask for what these phases are.
And you can use this plan, even though it has everything on it, and just describe verbally what the money's gonna go for each grant year. Thank you.
Because some grants that don't apply for certain dates. Like,
Okay.
Any other questions about the park plan?
No.
Commission went through it, we did. Motion would be in order to approve the Richmond Township Park Plan as presented.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support.
All fair side?
Aye.
Opposed?
Good job, Planning Commission.
Yes.
Good job.
Thank you. All right, next item we have is the approval of the Richmond Township sign amendments. Again, planning commission did not do the sign ordinance amendments. Bring anything?
Yeah, in your packet, you've got the new sign ordinance, and then also in there, I don't know if we really need to go over it tonight, but I had Lori to give you the old one, and this is how Steve went through this. And if you see, look at the old one where it's highlighted, the yellow, where he's highlighted it in yellow is what he had to add. What is highlighted and then crossed out is what he had to take out. So, I don't know if you want to go through and discuss these things bit by bit, but we really have no say in it because the changes came because of the laws.
That's what I was
have
going
changed.
to ask.
The laws have changed,
Yeah.
we have no say in it. And if you look through there, a lot of this is basically on free speech. And it's like political signs, you can put as many in your yard as you want,
As long as you want.
and as long as you want.
Yeah.
You cannot force anybody to take them down.
I found this out a couple elections ago,
Mhm.
is when we knew that the state was changing the sign ordinance.
So, I mean, that's why I had Lori give you this other one, so you can at least look through it later, and see what they've taken out, and what they had.
Okay.
And I've got confession to make.
Where's the
I
recording?
told Cheryl once about this, but at the last meeting, last month, I get an email from Lori on Wednesday evening. I didn't see it till the next day. Wanted to know if I was okay. And I couldn't think about why Lori was worried about if I was okay on Wednesday evening. So I texted her back and said, I'm fine, put a question mark. Well, then she texted me back and said, you weren't at the meeting last night. I totally forgot the meeting. It's the first time I've done it in 20 years. And
That's a
I
pretty good record.
was actually working. I worked till 9 o'clock that night. But if she would have texted me, I would have remembered it. So I just wanted to make a confession to the board.
You've made many of
Follow.
them, so.
Follow.
You're forgiven.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so does anybody have any questions about the sign ordinance?
The answer to mine, I wondered if this was
Yeah,
something
this
that
was-
changed in the law that
We
we
had nothing to do with it. Steve just brought it to us and said, hey, you got
Yeah, do
to
it.
do it.
Okay.
Perfect. Well, then motion would be in order to approve the Richmond Township zoning ordinance amendment.
So moved.
Support?
I'll support it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, next item we have is the memorial wall discussion. In your packets, I included the picture of what we had talked about before, the memorial wall. I talked to Laser Market on the 9th, so that on Monday, I think Monday. We're ready to move forward with it. I just included this and wanted to bring it to the board's attention. Is this still what we want to do? All I did is make a phone call and we'll start making it.
Can you clarify one thing?
Sure.
I was under the understanding, and this made me realize which way how I feel about this, that that was going to be for township board, township, not community. Like, say like Mr. Murphy, if you come in here and want to put something on there, that wouldn't be. It's for past board people.
That was my understanding.
Yeah, mine
Our board review planning commission.
Yeah, we had made that suggestion to her, but I think she still wants to do the tree thing. We don't have to do that. We just said we were doing that. If we want to keep it just for board members, that's fine.
Yeah, that was my understanding of board members.
Now, are you talking to board members? or-
Planning commission.
Anybody township.
Yeah.
And then we would have to come up with the money to pay for like the old ones, like there's Fred or Totsowitz and And bring them all into play.
Gentlemen, yeah,
Right.
for sure.
That'd be the next step as far as getting you names and years of service, so that would be
Jan can start research.
perfect.
That's a great idea.
I'll get this thing ordered in here, but that's.
I know, no.
Thank you for bringing that.
Is everybody, I mean,
They
this,
turned out great. I love them.
okay, the size was sufficient, so I know we had 3 different sizes. I think this was the largest. I couldn't find the other 2 around here, but I just figured it depends if we had a lot.
If you keep it with the board, I think you're
Yeah.
gonna be fine.
No,
Because
yeah.
in the community, we'd be
Oh, yeah.
decorating all the way
Yeah.
to the senior center.
No, it'll be.
Yeah.
Okay, so does this design look good?
Yes,
It
Oh,
looks
yeah.
great.
And the only other thing, and I don't know if this would have to be a motion or not, but this was a year and a half ago when we, I believe, when we approved, it's been so long. Amy's just shy of that, but it's pretty close. There would be a little bit increase in cost. I don't know what the increase would be,
So I understand.
and I was trying to get a quote on that before tonight's meeting, but Yvonne at Laser Market did not get that to me tonight. So,
Did she give you one last year?
she did, and
And how much was it?
I want to say it was around $700 or $800.
So if we made a motion not to exceed $1,000, you think we'd be safe?
It could be close. I'm guessing, I don't know, I mean, we're talking lumber, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
And we're talking how many of those little things we're gonna add to it.
But we could also include that a spot in the budget when we budget every year for.
That's true.
That's true.
$1,000 per name.
Right.
I think we probably should be safe at.
Okay.
But I'd like to add one thing, maybe you should ask the deputy treasurer if he has any thoughts. That you wanted on there since he was
I mean, you
happy.
did.
Well, my suggestion would be that you authorize the money for the board, and you at least put up Gordon and Jim, those plaques right away, along with, I guess, any other board members that we have.
Fred.
Fred.
Mr. Montgomery.
You've got our
Claudia
colleague,
O'Connor.
And you got Jack,
you've got our colleague.
Jack, Brickle.
Yeah, and you've got Carol O'Connor, she was Claudia O'Connor, that was on there for years. Keith Rigger was significant. Vern Burrow actually started the EMS. He was-
They're still alive.
Well, yeah, but I wouldn't.
I would put their term in.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily do it just for people that are, what's wrong with it? Put it on there for people that are alive.
Well, yeah, because you're not gonna put it from Gordon's birth to Gordon's death, you're gonna put the term in his service, right?
Right.
So, yeah, you're right, it's any past
Because that's what we did here.
Let
other people.
Let the people, some of the people would know that they're on there, to me.
The only thing, did you title it memorial?
I thought we did.
It says for memory of
It's,
those
it's kind of,
who
yeah,
we have lost.
In memory of
I
those.
thought we had decided it was gonna be.
We lost them in
those
service.
deceased members.
That's what I
It
originally.
it doesn't matter if you did, that's what you got it from.
I'll never make that board. It's no rest for the wicked. So, they don't have that made out already, though?
They do not, that's why I wanted
Okay,
to
so
run it
you
by
can
everybody.
change it.
I can call her tomorrow and tell her, go ahead, but I want to talk to the board first.
So, do you remember how much those were?
I want to say like $5. They're pretty minimal.
So I'm thinking, if I'm listening to the deputy treasurer, he's thinking maybe we include that in the cost
Yeah.
of right now,
Yeah,
for what we
should-
authorize.
Yeah, no, 10 or 20 of those.
I say we think 20 would be $100, right?
Okay.
To 1,100.
And put your guys' thinking caps on for the correct verbiage to put above that.
Okay.
You probably, if you're gonna open it up and you're thinking about considering people that have served, you probably should be in recognition of service.
Yeah.
And then put that at the top instead of memorial. We want the living people to think of the deceased.
I'm not giving
Of these people. Okay.
No,
any. No loss, it's just
Of service, yeah. No, there's still some of them.
Say it again, Bob.
Yes.
In recognition of service.
Yeah, recognition.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so could I just get a motion not to exceed amount, so I can,
Would you come up with 1,000, Cindy?
Yeah, but then if we're gonna buy some of the other plaques, I would say not, motion not to exceed
1,500.
15. I mean, you're not gonna spend any more than it is.
correct. Correct.
You're gonna watch what you spend.
Right.
So
Okay,
I think we should be funny.
okay. Could I get a motion not to exceed 1,500?
That would be me, I'd make that motion.
Okay.
Yep.
Your support? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you again for bringing that back.
No problem.
It's pretty awesome.
You get rolling on that. Okay, thank you. Next item we have on the agenda was the office staff salaries. And I will start by explaining a couple quick things. This was more targeted toward our secretary, and I will tell you why. I've recently been talking to surrounding municipalities about various things and items, and the big concern they have had was losing some of their people because of the way wages have been going. I know minimum wage hasn't changed, but increased wages from just other businesses around, they've lost people, and they don't want to lose anymore. So it got me thinking about our office, and the only one I'm really concerned about at this point right now would be our secretary. And I kind of looked at what secretaries are making, and put some of the material in front of you. Some of it's applicable, some of it's not. That's what I could find and threw it out there. And I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention, and maybe for discussion, recommendations, not, I don't know, I just wanted to throw it out there. Is this something we want to look into now? I understand we are only 6 weeks into the new budget. This conversation with surrounding municipalities did not come up till very recently, so it's not like I got a lot of lead time on this, I'm just bringing it up now. Can I start?
Well, the reason why it come up originally, or why it started all together was when we did our, when we talked to the employees about their evaluation, the office manager brought to our attention that Jan is below what you can make at McDonald's. And she felt it important that we give Jan a raise. She wasn't asking for a raise for herself, like she said, she said, I think Jan should be given more for that reason. That's why it came up. We're not asking to increase the wages of Chris or Lori. And all of those people even Jan was satisfied with the wage. But the office manager brought it up to us that she felt she deserves a raise. You know.
I just gave you everybody what they were making.
Yeah.
Is this what we
Yeah.
That was all.
So, I mean, and we didn't have any idea what we were gonna raise it to.
No, that's why
We just said, hey, do we want to do what do we want to do?
And I know it's like Lennox had recently just gave them a raise just to keep them from leaving.
Yeah.
And Jan is important. I mean, she knows a lot now on building, and if we were to lose Chris for some reason, she could easily fill those shoes.
Yeah.
And to lose her to go to McDonald's would be sad.
Yeah.
But if she had to go, I would understand it too.
Right, and they could replace her at that wage.
Yeah.
I don't know that answer, but,
So if I can comment, I know I was the one that asked you earlier in the week if you would put this discussion on here. And that came from after the reviews were done, I contacted both of the members on the personnel committee and I said, how did this go? And they both said the same thing, that Chris did not ask for a raise for herself, but she said she felt Jan was making not enough money in comparison to, as you said, you can go to McDonald's and make this, you can go to Burger King and make $14 an hour. Every place that you drive by is now hiring. They have shirts when you go through drive-thrus at fast food places that are, now hiring. This is our ad. And I guess then this became my concern. So currently we look and Jan is making $13.07 an hour. So I'm thinking if we were to give her a nice raise, maybe that looks like $1 an hour. So then that puts her at $1.10 an hour less than Lori, who's been here a lot longer than she has. And that's where my concern was. I do remember, Mr. Salka, that you said we were gonna visit this in 6 months. So I guess for the others, I'm not necessarily saying we do that. I would like to address Jan tonight. That was just where my concern came, was that if we give Jan a bump, then there's not so much difference between her and Lori, and Lori's so uncomfortable right now. And I'm sorry, but you know, Lori, she's an exceptional employee, and not that Jan isn't. But that was just my concern. If we give Jan a raise, which she absolutely, like Kathy said, she could step in if she had to. She absolutely deserves it. And Lori's the very last person in the whole wide world that would ever complain, which is why someone has to speak to that matter. That's why the discussion came up. That was on me. And we could wait to do that until the 6 month mark. And I'm good with that. But I would like to address Jan tonight. That was the why I had us discuss all of them. Just, if we give one of them a bump, then everybody's closing in on each other, and I don't know how fair that is.
Or how fair it is to give one a bigger raise than the other two, even though they haven't asked for it, or then that becomes an issue as well.
It does, and you factor in inflation, what things cost this year versus what they were last year. A gallon of gas is, what, 20 more a gallon. There's numerous other things. We are not spenders here. It isn't what we do, but I do feel like we are fortunate to have our staff. And I feel like they are all very good people, and they work hard, and I would hate to lose them to a different opportunity. So that was my, I asked Chris to put that on, and that's where it came from, was just that thought process.
How close would, if we decided to give Jan bump her up $1, how close is she to Lori's? I mean, can we keep them $1 apart?
Should be $1.10 square.
Until you're reviewing.
How does everybody feel about giving all three of them a little bit of a raise? If we bump Jan up to 14, we dump Lori up to 16, and we dump Chris up to 19, round it off. That's only giving Chris 22 cents. It gives Lori a 75-cent raise or a little more, and gives Jan almost $1 raise. So she is slow, that's just a suggestion, I'm not saying that.
I like the rounded off numbers from the payroll perspective.
And that way there, Jan's getting a little more raise than everybody. And like Chris said, she wasn't asking for a raise, that's only 22 cents, And that keeps Lori $2 ahead of Jan, which I agree with Cindy in the fact that Lori has seniority,
She's got to go wherever.
It's got to go wherever, yeah. So that's up to you. Or we can just do the two, do Lori and Jan, and leave Chris up where she's at. But like you said,
I think you should just round off.
He said he does exactly what he wanted to do.
Yeah. So it'd be $1,570 if we round everybody up, like Vern suggested, 22 cents an hour for Chris, it's 83 cents an hour for Lori, and $1 an hour for Jan. Of course, then you have to figure the cap. So that's,
Our fight was pretty over this year, though.
another $120, so you're at less than $1,600 to do that. And again, I will totally appreciate the fact that you guys, that we did talk about the 6 month thing for coming in on Jan. But I do like this idea as well. We're giving everybody a little bit more money. We're still keeping a little separation between them. We're going to get no, 15, 16, 9, hold on.
They also have to worry about the deputy pay.
Yeah.
That's part of
It'd
the.
be $1,689 per take. It's going to be right around there. So that's with the tax and such. So And I'd be good with it, but I'd also be good with just giving, you know, Jan raise now and revisiting it in January or December.
How does the board feel overall on that? Kathy?
I'm totally fine with it. I even was talking to John, I threw it all at him, and he said, don't worry about it, you guys are always fine. You're fine with your budget, the way you are, you never really have to pull from the general fund. There's always enough to cover, but I think we're fine between the deputies and the raises.
Do you want to do it now, or do you want to wait 6 months?
I think we should do it now. I'm for doing it now, if you want to take a vote, that's fine too.
Me and Chris, we knew we were supposed to wait 6 months. But talking to the employees, there were some issues they had, but I think none of them denied it. They agreed, hey, we have some issues, we have some things we need to work out, and we've worked them out. And that, to me, that meant a lot to me.
Right.
These people, you know, come and said, hey, we worked our differences out, and we're working together, and we're a good team.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely.
And another thing that works out really well is this would be, if we make it effective, it will work out perfect for the payroll periods for both the deputies and your 2 weeks. So I'm not figuring in a half a week and then a whole week, you know, two different rates.
I mean, given the raises, well, at least the raise to Jan was Chris, our idea. The board doesn't decide differently, that's fine. We're not demanding it. It's just our finding. When we come back to
For
you
sure.
and say this is what we recommend.
Okay. I like that idea, but maybe the formal motion when we're ready.
I would do that.
Okay.
I would like to make a motion to increase Jan County's wages from $13.07 an hour, it's going to be to $14.07 an hour, so we're giving her $1. Laura Stewart's wages from $15.17 an hour to $16 an hour. Chris Burkle's wages from $18.78 an hour to $19 an hour, and increase both the deputy treasurer and the deputy clerk pay $1,000 annually to begin during the next payroll period. Whenever the next one starts. So for the middle one, wait until the next one starts. Right? Okay. And that would be my motion.
So we're giving them the 2% plus an additional amount.
Yep.
That figure right there.
Yeah, it has
the
2%.
2%.
I did it. Yeah.
Any more questions before we get a motion to support? Do we have a motion to support?
Or,
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next item we have is jury duty. Kathy just gave this to me tonight for Jan. She got paid, but you want to explain that, Kathy?
Yeah, so Jan had jury duty, but at the time that she had jury duty, she was trying to tell me how to figure out her pay for those days. But yet the county wasn't going to give her a check for a couple of weeks from then, you know, whenever it's done. It could go on her, God knows how long. So I told her, Jan, I will just pay you your regular pay, and when you get your check from the county, to give it to me. And then I'll take it to the board and figure out what we want to do. Now, I know when I served jury duty back when I was an employee, this was a long time ago, they just considered it my civic duty and never adjusted my pay. So Jan got $80 from the county. Do you guys want me to deduct this from her pay?
Well, how many days has she
I
gone?
didn't
She
I
was
didn't think
gone.
you could do that.
Huh?
I didn't think you could do that. I thought, you guys are lawyers.
I thought that the policy had, at least maybe the county has it, we turn over the jury pay back to the county if you get your salary during the period of time you're on jury duty.
Yeah, they pay for your 8-hour day of jury duty time, but then when you get the check from the county, you just sign it
They,
over.
this is the first time I've had
So,
to deal with this. I
that
know
would
it's
be
me
my
or
recommendation.
the
Right.
clerk.
That she got paid for being off, the jury pay should be turned back to the county.
However, the county has included her mileage in with her
The
pay.
mileage, not the mileage, but just the pay, the pay should be turned back to us.
So Jan has to pay the county back.
No, she got the check right.
She got the check already.
So she pays us for the time that she got her full salary here. Just the what is it, $80?
So you want me to take the $80 out of her wages?
No.
She just writes checks. She just writes
We
checks.
ain't doing
I'm gonna
that.
say,
We ain't doing that. What we're doing is paying her when she was here, and she gets the $80 from there and call it in.
and that's how it went when I did
That's the
it.
way I feel.
Yeah,
So my question to the board then is this: what happens if the jury duty is 2 months? Are you gonna tell them that you're gonna get paid for 2 months and they're gonna get
Yeah.
jury duty for 2 months?
I wouldn't bat an eye, because that's part of, you
I understand.
want, why you can't get people to serve on juries and stuff, and why we need people serving there, then we gotta bite the bullet with it.
What's the
That's my
difference
view.
between her salary for those 2 days and what she got?
she got paid $15 on a Monday, $40 on a Tuesday, and $25 on a Wednesday.
How much on Tuesday?
40. So really, out of the days that she worked was $55. I just remember Gordon telling me it was my civic duty was fulfilled, I'm fine. Cindy was the clerk at the time,
I remember that.
and my pay was never interrupted, so I
We don't have a policy.
No,
No, we
should
don't.
on that.
Yeah. I think-
And I'm really just asking you guys for
I
it.
think there should be a limit. I mean,
Yeah,
2
I-
months is a little ridiculous. And
Well, I've never known anybody to do that thing for long.
You get called for federal jury duty, it could be up to 2
yeah,
If you get to federal court, you might get
Then
it.
it's different,
So,
yeah.
I think what we do for this one is whatever the
Just
board
pick
decides,
this, yeah.
and we'll take a motion support on that, but then
Going forward, if we want to do a policy, that's fine
we
with
should
me,
probably have a
because
policy,
then,
whatever we decide, we should
I
have a
don't,
policy.
see, I don't know if you should do a policy, I just think you review every one as it comes. You brought that to us today, and you say, well, Jan's been out for a month, what are we gonna do? Then we could maybe say, then we could do what Bob's suggesting. If we made a policy, then we're stuck with it. I think you do it, how many times is that gonna happen?
very rarely, and I came in and covered for it,
So, I mean,
really-
you bring it before the board and say, hey, how do we want to handle this? In this case, when it's only 1 day or 2 days or whatever.
And did she come in part of those days? you said,
Yes, she
too?
did, because like Monday, they gave her 15, but
Yes,
she
it's
was only
not
down
like
there
we're
for an
open
hour.
5 days a week.
Came.
You know, it's not like these jobs are high-powered jobs here. You know, we're lucky we got the workers we got, you know, to do the stuff that they do.
So go ahead and take a vote on it, let me know what I'm doing.
So, we got a motion,
I'll make a motion that we pay Jan for her jury duty. For working, not working those days on her
or
jury.
should just have it give the next pay period.
If, no, it would be coming off of the next pay period,
So
this amount.
No.
Not the days don't line up with the pay period, because she had no idea going into it what days she'd be off. Do you know what I mean? If it lasted longer, how can she tell me what she's?
But did it fall, her 2 days that she worked, did we already pay her 2 days, or we didn't pay her for those 2 days?
She's paid for those 2 days.
And all
So
fair,
it's-
No,
She
because
wants
I
to-
had told, Jan was under the understanding that once she got her check, we would deduct it off of that current pay, whatever's coming up in the next pay period.
So we.
Because there was no other way, how could
Yeah.
she or me foresee what it was gonna be?
So
It sounds good, exercise quote.
so we have a motion on the floor from her to pay Jan, do we have support?
I'll support.
Well, actually not paid, just.
Oh.
Not
Not deducted.
Not
Not
deduct, not
deduct.
deduct.
She's already been paid.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor, say
I,
aye. Opposed?
can I ask one question? I don't know if I'm just having a disconnect here. You would want to talk about the office report when we talked about the salaries and stuff, and you pulled that off, and I just didn't want to forget that if you needed to share something.
For staffing.
I had just two questions. I talked to Chris the other day, our office manager, and Cindy and I, you know how we used to do do vacation time. I mean, it was submitted to me, I gave it to you, we both signed off, and at the end of the pay period, or at the end of the year, we went through, made sure everybody
Right.
had the same days and whatnot. Chris said she approves Lori's and Jan's, and I said, who approves yours? And she basically just said, well, I get it to Chris. I just let him know. There's no checks or balances.
She writes it on my calendar, I know when she's.
I get a form to approve and then I check the calendar.
Do you? Okay. So does somebody have, like,
She's
Cindy and I used to do, make sure, sit down at the end of the year and say, okay, this is how many they had, this is how many they used. Do we have a system in place like that now? Who does that?
I keep track of everybody I see. It's in my office, it's in a book as to who's got what and who's used. And then Chris will let me know, the last time during COVID, you guys allowed them extra time to roll some over. And that's what they're dealing with right now going on. And also, I like to have them write everything on my calendar because if we're short-staffed, I'll come in.
And the other question I had is that we gave them that Monday off for July 5th when the holiday fell on a Sunday. We never got a day off when it fell on the weekend. And I didn't understand that. I just wanted to bring that up.
I know and I talked to Bert about it too, and it should have came up at a board meeting, but at one point we had talked about following county policy, and I know that is county policy.
But we don't follow all of the county because we don't have all the holidays in the county. So therefore, that's where we get an issue.
Well, it won't come
I
in for
will
7 days.
I will
7
always
years.
fall on the side of our employees to help them out. Like I told you, we're just discussing how we've got to pay these people so that we can keep them. So when situations like come up like that, I give our employees the benefit of the doubt and help them out a little bit. Okay, we'll give you a paid holiday or something. I don't care how it was done 20 years ago.
It's not
or
a
5
paid
years ago.
holiday, it was a day off that really wasn't a holiday.
It was, for most people, it was a holiday. That's the thing, for the most people it was. And I'm gonna err on the side of our employees to help them out. And if you want me to be on the personnel committee, that's the kind of crap you're gonna have to put up with. Because that's how I'm gonna judge these things when it comes down to me. You know? I'm not gonna apologize for the way I feel about this.
I have always heard in the private sector and public sector, when a holiday falls on a weekend, you get the Friday or the Monday, always, no matter what the holiday is. See, Mr. Bent, you've heard that too, I've always heard that.
It does sound like it's gonna be an issue for, what is it, 7 to 8 years?
Yeah, because that's how long it's gonna take for it falls that way again. I'll be gone.
Hopefully not on this.
Boom! Are you hoping or?
I said it hopefully not on this, yeah.
We may have to change the verbiage.
That's a drop of mic right there. All right.
Okay, anything else on,
Oh, boy.
okay, the last thing we had in new business would be toilets. Vern, you wanted us to add that?
Yes, me, Kathy, Lori, and I went to talk with Mr. Toyn about the issues we're having over there. And he sounds like he's going to try to accommodate or help us with most of these problems. One of the issues was, if you remember, when the people here were about the trees in the back, he said he's going to leave them there now. He has been working with that lady. He wanted to put up a wall between, a fence, not a wall, between him and Hidden Meadows. And we were discussing, well, maybe in order to do that, like Steve has done with our plan stuff, he should need to go through the zoning board of appeals. And me and Kathy were saying, well, if he's willing to help us like that, maybe we should just, let him do it, work with him. And Otherwise, he's gonna have to pay for that and all that, that's gonna be extra money. But then Steve is kind of telling us, we also need to cover our butt a little too, on how we do this, which I can see his point. But me and Kathy are still kind of interested in, if he's willing to do this, we need to, you know, how do we approach this? Because I don't know, zoning board of appeals, because what he needs to build the zone only allows him to build a 6-foot wall. He wants to put up at least a 12 in order to block the fans that are causing the noise from the greenhouses. So,
He really said between 10 and 12, though. So
yeah,
it's gonna
10 and
fall
12,
somewhere.
it's whatever that's gonna come. So I don't know if you guys want to work with him in that respect, or do we want him to go the normal route, go to the zoning board of appeals, then he'd probably have to go to the planning commission. I don't know if Steve even wants to allow him to put up any wall like that. But I don't see how we're going to get this problem resolved otherwise. He did say that he is planning on putting in an entrance off of Pound Road that he thought would take care of the trucks. If there is more expansion coming there.
If phase 2 will go out towards
Yeah.
Pound.
Towards Pound Road, so he's going to eliminate that quite a bit. He has created a rapport with some of the people in the subdivision. He has reached out to them, so he's not trying to be like an island with them. So he is kind of working in that respect. And I guess what me and Lori are asking, well, Lori from the planning commission, Kathy from the clerk's position, how you guys want us to approach this and what direction should we take this. And now we also have the gentleman on the south side who was putting up the bales, and we took that to the right to farm. He is a farm. He has basically, he can do what he wants there. You know, we really can't stop that. But now he's kind of thinking against the bales too, and he wants to put up some type of barrier.
Well,
Yeah.
is the fence barrier covered under right to farm?
No.
Like if he puts up a fence, is that something?
The right to farm is basically, all that is how they work with right to farm is a complaint-based type of system. They don't act on anything unless they get a complaint. And when they get a complaint, they simply go out and see if the place is compliant with normal farming procedures. That storing of them bales, to them is nothing, that's just normal farming.
Right.
So, but in return, right to farming doesn't give him a blank check to where he can just go and do what he wants. You know, all that does is when you go to the court or anything, you can say that he's compliant with the right to farm, he's doing things in the standard way, you know. And like they said, their biggest issue that they work with is usually odor, is the right to
Yeah.
farm. He said that's their number one thing they have to deal with, you know. So I guess, you know, where do we go with this? Right now, it's kind of calmed down over there because the growing season is down, and it's warm enough to where he can open up the greenhouses and he gets his ventilation that way. See, and then when he has to close the greenhouses down, starts heating them, then he has to vent them.
Right.
And that's when the air goes.
If Anderson wants to put up the barrier, though, he can, but if it's gonna be higher than our restrictions, he'd have to do the same thing we're gonna make Toys do,
That's what I
which
mean.
is the CBA.
That's what I mean.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he knows his hay bales is not working, they're falling more towards than they
Well,
are.
he's got a stack.
Yeah.
But, yeah, where do we go? Because
I feel like you've got to make him, I feel like you have to make him follow our
Mhm.
ordinance. And I think as a board, if we wanted to make a motion to waive the fees for the ZBA, if we felt like that's what we wanted to do, like we were trying to help solve the problem, the concerns of our residents, maybe we could do that. But they're being watched so close, I just feel
Steve
like,
said we're getting a lot
I
of
think-
trouble with that.
yeah,
I think what we should do probably is, I think it's kind of calmed right down, and I think it will be all right probably till next growing season. I think we need to have Steve come before us
Mhm.
and explain, and have him give us an idea of what he thinks we should handle this.
Great.
And tell him, you know, where our problems come from, or the residents. We want to help them out too.
Oh, for sure.
And choice, give them credit, they're willing to work with us.
Yeah.
'cause they
You
don't
know,
have-
I thought he was very receptive to the three of us that day. Was willing to show us everything, was not trying to hide anything.
Yeah.
That's why I would like to work with it, if we
Yeah.
could.
Me too.
It's still.
And
our legal
I think
service.
that in return, Mr. Anderson has to basically follow the same thing.
For sure. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You know, so,
Okay, so I got notes for Steve, we would get Steve come to a future meeting.
yeah, I think
Even the next one.
the next meeting, and he can kind of explain to us what really needs to go on, or how we should approach it.
Okay, so I will definitely ask him to come and explain more of that to us. Any more direction you need on that, Larry? Is that good for now?
No, that's good for now.
Okay. Any questions for Larry before we move on? Hearing none, next item we have is items for next agenda. We know we have to reappoint Mr. Stewart to the ZBA.
And you're gonna have Mr. Cass in here?
We have Mr. Cass in here, yeah. What else are we supposed to do?
Hopefully we'll have a resolution on the unemployment by then.
Yep. Okay.
And John said if they owe us money,
Well, we should put the Charlie and Drew thing back on, see what we found out.
We'll meet before the.
Yeah, we'll try to meet before the next meeting,
Okay.
go with that.
Anything else at this point? Okay. Call the board. Bring forward to us.
oh, caps. Yeah, I haven't really found out anything. I'll bring more information. You know, all your caps, these caps,
Okay.
you know, off the baby, any kind of cap. And leaving the lids off of your coffee cans. We're collecting them, so you know your huge contractor bags, 10 of them will make us a bench for the park. And the way that this place, it's Elkhart, Indiana, which is a hall. Andrea's trying to find somebody, no, Andrea found someone in Ohio now, but she's trying to find someone a little closer yet. But you're not necessarily gonna get your caps, because you're gonna take 10 to make a bench, and then you pick up the bench right then and there and bring it back with you. So, save your caps. And once I get officially confined and commit to one, yeah, we'll put it out there. I'd hate for us to put it out there now and get bombarded and sorry, can't do it.
Okay. Yeah, we did the bag program a couple years ago through Trex.
Yeah.
And that was kind of more local thing, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. We'll hang on to our caps.
I have a box in my room.
Do you?
Under the typewriter, just thrown on the desk.
Okay.
We're gonna need a building now, don't we? To
Okay.
store them.
Okay.
Building.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, any general public comment? Before we move on? Okay, hearing none, the next item we have is to enter the closed session with our fire attorney to discuss legal opinion. Could I get a motion to do so?
Motion.
Support?
Support.
Chris, can you excuse me, or are you coming back afterwards?
We can excuse you, Anita, that's fine. We're just gonna come back and adjourn.
Okay, so,
Public and excuse the office.
Yeah.
It's gonna be pretty warm in there.
Yeah, well, we can excuse, I guess, our officer tonight. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
And for that, and Mr. Zolper.
Sure, that has some fish cake.
No. Supervisor, let's excuse me.
We get roll call vote for closed session.
Did you want,
Do you need me out?
yeah, Cheryl,
You guys need?
Cindy,
Yes.
Kathy, yes, Chris,
Yeah.
Yes.
you're good.
Put it on
Okay,
here.
now we gotta